Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Access 72 video, and in today's video I'm back with another interview. I'm here with Harvey Hale. Harvey, how are we?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing great, mate. Thank you very much for coming on the
Good, good,
channel.
good. So what
Okay,
was
I just said thank you for coming on the channel, mate.
that? Fair enough. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Okay, so am I right in saying your record is 1-1?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, great. And so if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So I'm going to start off with the question which you always like to start off with. Why did you start kind of fighting, I suppose is the right way of putting it?
Oh, probably. I was chilling. I remember chilling at my dad's house, and I was probably how old was I? Like 11, 12 maybe. And I remember it was Ricky Hatton versus Floyd Mayweather. I don't know if you ever remember that fight or.
Yes.
But basically, I remember staying up late and I watched like this whole what I thought was the fight. So I thought it was the fight, and it was all the pre-fight, talking about their training, talking about all these things, being an 11-year-old kid, not really knowing what's going on, expecting to see a fight at the end. So as you can imagine, when the fight didn't happen, I was a bit like, what's going on? So it sort of like piqued my interest a bit, and then after that, I just started watching YouTube videos, watching Ricky Hatton fight. Watch Floyd Mayweather fight, and then from there I just thought, you know what, it's quite. You got one side of the coin. It's Ricky Hatton who loved to get in and have a scrap, proper, fighter, British fighter. And then you got Floyd Mayweather who just was so methodical, planned everything out, and I guess it just sort of like I don't know, it piqued my interest because it's like two different complete fighters, and being an 11-year-old kid, the only fights I'd ever really seen was what would happen on the street or in school itself. So yeah, I guess it's sort of the first point of there's levels to this game, like there's levels to fighting, and yeah, I guess that's what you could say started it off for me really. Indeed. Plus I was a like, can I swear on this channel? Am I allowed to swear? Of course. Plus I was a little shit as well, and I just I needed to get some energy out, I suppose, if you like. So yeah, that's what got me into it, man. Indeed. Never look back. It's been good.
Great, and of course, I mean, I'm sure Ricky Hatton was inspiration for many. He was a little bit before my time, which is a bit unfortunate, really. I would have loved to have seen the kind of whole British reaction to him, but yeah, of course, especially that fight in general, that was a huge fight, and yeah, it's
definitely. I think like with it was awesome to watch like back Ricky Hatton's fights because like again, a lot of his prime days, I suppose, were before that fight anyway. Yeah. So sort of like looking back at his fights, I'd look at Ricky Hatton and I'd think, this is awesome, like true blood and guts and getting in there and fighting and scrapping. And then when I started watching Floyd Mayweather fight, it was like, okay, like this is completely different. It's like a completely different. And I think I sort of like went more to watching the Floyd Mayweather style. Although Ricky Hatton was fun to watch,
of course, it
was wicked to watch because he just had bloodbaths and cuts and tear-ups. And I remember going to Waterstones as well and buying his autobiography and just being fascinated with the big old gashes that he had on his head and how the hell does that happen in boxing, especially. But then you got Floyd Mayweather that rarely even got hit, really, to be honest. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Ricky Hatton had a massive following as well, didn't he? Especially at that fight. I think it was like more British fans on it than American fans. It's pretty cool.
Indeed. And so is there any kind of fighter in general that you'd kind of like to base your style off of?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So I suppose what you could say, like fighters I enjoy watching. So I love watching James Toney, like old style James Toney, like defensive, sort of like wizard and genius, and how he can just. He almost makes it look like he's, like a stroll in the park, no matter who he's fighting, be it even Roy Jones. I know he lost that fight against Roy Jones Jr., but still, he just was so composed. And yeah, so probably someone like James Toney I love watching. Who else do I enjoy watching? Well, it depends. At the moment, I watch a load of southpaw videos, so like people fighting southpaws because my next opponent's a southpaw. However, it's with regards to that, I'm watching things like Ryan Garcia. You got that fight coming up, big old fight. It's a big old fight to watch. But no, yeah. Anyway, back to the original point, probably James Toney. James Toney, I love watching.
Okay, great. And so I suppose from the seams of it, you seemingly are a kind of student of the game kind of mindset you have. And would you say that you have that mindset?
Oh, 100%. Like I started off with boxing. So like I started when I was young. After watching all that sort of stuff, I had to get into it. So went to my local gym. This is down in Banbury, Spin Sawdust. I was coached there by a guy called Dave Earl and then Ken, and it was real good. Like I fell in love with it. Like you're learning like the art of the sport. It's chess, but standing up. It's not it's not just a scrap. And then from there, my Ken died, so the coach died at the time, which sort of like put things back a bit. But I just continued. And then I think when I was probably about 15 or 16, I made the switch to MMA because when you're that age, you sort of get a bit of ego about yourself, don't you? You're sort of getting into your like little shit stage, like everyone has, I suppose. So I thought, what, I'm going to give this MMA a go because it just looked more violent, to be honest. Like it just looked violent. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to give it a go. So went in there, loved the fact that you can smack someone on the ground, the jiu-jitsu side of it as well. I trained, where I was training, Barry Martial Arts Centre. They had a really good jiu-jitsu academy, 10th Planet. I know we're going off of boxing here, but it was under like a 10th Planet banner, which is awesome jiu-jitsu. That sort of split apart there. So then it was sort of, I just went back into sort of stand-up striking and things like that. And eventually, to cut a long story short, moved from all the MMA. I fought quite a few times in MMA. I loved it and everything like that. However, you just can't beat the standing. Standing's just wicked. I mean, there's no better feeling than cracking someone in the face, or even with a good body shot. And then, it's so unforgiving. You can't hide in a boxing ring. There's no hiding. Like in MMA, if you get into the ground, you can sort of stall a bit, get your breath back, especially in jiu-jitsu, things like that. But then in boxing, there's no stalling. There's really no stalling. Not when you're against someone good. Definitely not.
Indeed. And so, I mean, of course, you have been through both boxing and MMA. And so when you kind of, I mean, I know you started with boxing, but when you kind of went from MMA back to boxing, was it kind of a difficult transition, or did you find that you could do it with kind of relative amounts of ease?
To be honest with you, going back to the point with regards to levels, like I started, we got a new boxing coach come in, Joe Jackson Brown, who is also a pro. He's a professional himself, very good boxer. He's currently active in the professional scene. And then when he came in to join the sort of the coaching team on the boxing side of things, he sort of just showed me the levels. Like you get to a point where you're sparring people and you're doing really well against someone, and you're doing really well against people, and then all it takes is someone fresh to come in and have a different level about them. Like he's like 3 or 4 stages above, if that makes sense. And then when you then start training with someone like that, and how the pros train, and how someone who is going to go fast training, all of a sudden your mindset, and it just piqued my interest. It really did pique my interest because you've got to have a different mentality, mindset. It teaches you to be solid and strong, and I think that it was just way more interesting, way more things to counter, way more things to set up. Just a hell of a lot of fun. A hell of a lot of fun. It was wicked. So I just fell in love with it, I suppose. That's what you could say. It's probably not as good for you on the brain than MMA. However, still, it's wicked. It is wicked.
Yes, it is a great sport. And so you spoke there about Joe Jackson Brown. I mean, we've had him on the channel. He's a great guy. I mean, I luckily managed to see his fight at ringside, his last fight, and that was a great knockout, a very
awesome.
Good fight. And so what has it been like working with him, and what have you learnt from him?
Oh, a hell of a lot. He's like, his fight IQ is another level. Like the way that he can just sort of, he knows what he's doing. He sets things up and when you're watching him spar other people as well, he's very good. So it's he's working a lot with me and a lad called Cyprian. So we've got a lad called Cyprian that fights with us. So both of us are fighting on the same show on Quest, and he works with both of us. And he will pad us. He'll talk us through technique. He shows us how the pros are training. And then the best part about it is we also get good rounds in with him as well. It's I suppose for him, he's probably able to learn some stuff, put into practice some of the stuff that he's learning with his own coach. But then to me as well, especially, well, I can speak for myself, but when I get in the ring with him, you get that, almost like pre-fight nerves because you're going to get hurt. However, most of the stuff you learn is inspiring, right? Like, all the pads and all the bags that you do anyway, it's useless if you haven't got that sort of like well, it's not useless, but if you haven't got that fighter spirit, like getting in there and getting hit and being able to do that stuff under pressure, it's completely different. And I think that's the biggest thing that Joe sort of taught us, is that getting in there and having all the technique and skill is one thing, but putting into practice, not giving up. Like when you get caught with a body shot, and believe you me, as I'm sure most of the people we've had on here would say, they'd rather get hit in the head than hit in the body, because it's just another level of pain. But at the same time, like, he's put us in those uncomfortable positions and taught us to overcome adversity. I think that's the biggest thing, is adversity, because in fact, what he actually said to me once on the way down to one of his fights, he said to me, me and Sip were in the car, and he's like, you know what? He's like, getting punched in the face and knocked out, you can't come back from that. And he's like, however, a body shot, yes, it hurts, yes, it's excruciating, but you can still get up from a body shot, no matter what. And all of a sudden, it sort of stuck in my head a bit, that, because I remember thinking, you know what? Actually, the next time I'm going to get body shot, I'm going to do that. And then when you get body shot, that's it. Your fight or flight's going mental. You're thinking, oh shit. And it's just, it's fighting, like, as probably most boxers know anyway, fighting that adversity, which is good.
Indeed. That's some smart things to learn early on as well, especially. And I mean, so at the moment you're in somewhat of a kind of semi-professional side of things in the boxing wise, and so I mean, you are 1-1, but do you not really look overly too much into your record at this side of things and just focus more on the development?
Definitely not. So before, I made the switch to boxing from MMA, and I'd say like my stand-up was already fairly good anyway, because I had quite a lot of foundations built up from, starting so young. So I, obviously, because I started boxing, that was my first martial art that I started. And then obviously switching from MMA to boxing, I had about a year and a half's work with Joe, probably even 2 years before I even had my first fight. And it's very difficult to try and especially get into the amateurs, because we had to get carded, there was all these things that came with coming into the amateur scene. And it would have been good to have fought a lot more. However, it was actually against my first fight was against a guy called Gareth Gardner. I don't know if you've ever heard him, but he was a boxer from Queensbury. I believe he fought in the Commonwealth. He's had over 60 amateur fights, fought professionally, and then he came back to the ring. He had 4 years off, came back to the ring, and basically his opponent pulled out, and Joe, my coach, got a phone call from Quest to say, have you got any lads that will step in? And that was it. I stepped in, and I think I was a bit of a, whether or not, I don't know, but I think I was a bit of a lamb to the slaughter type thing, if you know what I mean, because he was their boy, sells a lot of tickets, really good boxer, like he's a seasoned guy. And I put it to him. I went in there and put it to him, made a bit of a statement. He was, I learned a hell of a lot as well, from someone that, had been in there a lot. And I think that from that first fight, it was, although I lost, I learned so much. I chinned him in the last round as well, quite with a lovely uppercut that, he was, even after the fight, he came up to me and, sort of said that hurt. But it was awesome. I loved it, loved every minute of it. And it was just good to, after that, the promoters they wanted me back on their show. So, obviously did something right.
Definitely.
100%.
Indeed. And so I mean, of course, we've been speaking about Quest, and you're working with them currently, and so what's it like working with them? What have you been getting offered from them?
So no, the shows are wicked. As I said to you before, I fought in MMA before, and the shows in MMA, I used to fight on something called Golden Ticket, really well set up show. But Quest is just like, you go there and everything's so professional. From the way that the ring's set up, the way that the filming's done, like backstage, they're very friendly. All the staff there look after you. It's Alan, who's the guy who runs it. Really nice guy. Like, he's very accommodating as well. And I think before I fought Gareth Gardner, he was, sort of said hello to me, he was friendly to me, and then afterwards he wanted me back on his show. He wanted me to fight like good people. I had the fight before this, I had 2 pull-ups before I finally fought. So I was supposed to be fighting one guy. It was going to be a good fight. I can't remember his name. that was going to be a good fight. He pulled out, something to do with his back, and then I was supposed to fight another dude who was a southpaw, and then again, literally the night before the fight, he pulled out.
Yeah,
so as you can imagine, like Alan, for Alan and Quest, it's a difficult situation because you know they've sold tickets and everything like this, and he stepped up and he put, you know, although I fought someone called I can't remember his name, but basically I fought a journeyman who was game. He just, you know, he was game to have a fight, he was game to have a scrap, and yeah, again, not the caliber of people I wanted to fight, but at the same time, it was good fun, good experience, you know. And yeah, and hopefully this next fight, hopefully this dude brings it to me, you know, like every boxer says, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to, you know, it's just going to be good to get in there and have a good old scrap. When I say scrap, it's going to be clinical. I'm not just going to go in there and throw balls to the wall. But yeah, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be wicked.
That's great. That's great. And so, do you have a possible date of when you'll be back fighting?
Yeah, so the 22nd of April. So I'm fighting on the 22nd of April at Epsom Downs Racecourse. And as I said before, like Quest, they put up a lovely show. Yeah, lovely show. Oh, and this fight as well, it's the title eliminator. So the winner of this will then go on to fight for the title, which will be, you know, should be good. It should be good. So it's yeah, it's gonna be wicked. 22nd of April, which I think it's 3 weeks Saturday. It was 3 weeks on Saturday.
Okay. And so overall, how's preparations been going? Is that all good?
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, preparation like every fight camp. You know, to be honest with you, we don't really stop training. Like training might cut down a little bit, but you know, we're still sparring, we're still, you know, training, we're still doing technique. Like you never really switch it off. It never really switches off, if that makes sense. It's to be fair to you, it's by choice as well. Like, you know, whereas with sometimes, you know, with MMA and this and that, I was finding that training was becoming more of a chore, and I had to do it because I know how to fight. Whereas this, like every training camp I have had, I felt wicked. Like, you know, it's you look after yourself. It's you just become in touch with your body. You know, like especially when you know when you're healthy and you're looking after yourself, getting good training, good sleep, good nutrition. Like your body just it rewards you. It literally does reward you by hitting hard and doing well. 100%.
Indeed. And so, for anybody who's maybe not watched you fight before and might be coming to watch this fight of yours, what would you say makes yourself interesting as a fighter?
Ooh, what makes me interesting? That's a good question. Well, without running the risk of saying what every other fucking boxer says, you know, I just keep it interesting. You know, I think that when I'm going in there, it's not necessarily that I'm hunting for the knockout. The knockout's obviously every boxer's always going to be looking for the knockout. They're always going to be looking for the stoppage. But for me, I just want to look good. You know, like I want to. I'd like to think my style has always been quite unorthodox. It's been, you know, whether or not it's because I've had that sort of MMA where, you know, you have a slightly wider stance, you're, you know, shooting in for takedowns and this and that. Whether or not it's because of that sort of MMA style. However, you know, working with Joe especially, you can't make mistakes. No mistakes can be made because you get sort of capitalised on it. But I don't know, just having fun. Like, just having fun, I suppose. Probably sounds like a proper boring answer, I know, but it's it's one of them things for sure. It's good. I enjoy it.
No, of course, it is very important to always enjoying what you're doing. And so, I mean, you're in the kind of semi-professional kind of side of things as well at the moment. And of course, you are young and you are up and coming. And are you eventually maybe looking towards going towards maybe professional side of things?
No, 100%. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I don't work this hard. Like, you know, I don't work this hard because I just want to stay at this level. Like, you know, it's like sort of almost like work. I don't work this hard to just stay where I'm at. I will turn pro. It will go to the professional level. You know, everyone that boxes and everyone that does this sport knows the amount of sacrifice and like time that you have to put into it. And I think that I just know the only way I could describe. It's the only way I could describe it. I just know I put far too much work into this. I put far too much work, and I think that it will pay. It will pay off 100%.
Great. And so, I mean, you are not even turned pro yet, but professional side of things, how far do you believe you can go?
Or what, being a pro? Being a pro? Well, I'm just going to go as far as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100%. I'm going to go in there, entertain. I think, boxing at the same time is an entertainment business, right? And it's the amount of good boxers that I've seen and the amount of good boxers that I've paid attention to, and you're just like, fucking hell, why aren't you in the limelight more? Why aren't you out there more? And it's because, 9 times out of 10, they're either a bit boring, they don't really know how to speak, which I'm not saying I do. Believe me, I'm not saying I know how to talk at all. However, it's very cutthroat. If you're not entertaining, it's one of them things, which is why you just got to knock people out. And I think that it's pretty much as simple as that. Like, as long as you're knocking people out and you're winning, you're going forward. Like, you can't, even if they're boring as fuck, but chinning people and like making people fold and look horrible, like, people are going to watch them, right? People are going to watch them. And I think that, I suppose coming from MMA as well, you get all the Conor McGregors, all the ones that think that, the Conor McGregors and things like that. And I think where everyone sort of, where a lot of people sort of, fail, I suppose, is that they try and be someone they're not. They try and be what people think that people want them to be. Whereas, I'm just a bit of a tit. I ramble a lot, as you probably noticed here. I ramble a lot. I'm a bit of a tit. I don't take myself too seriously, but at the same time, I work hard. You got to work hard. 100%. I don't know if do you train yourself? Do you box yourself? Do you?
No, not currently.
No. What about, like, I don't know? Do you ever had a boxing fight or ever boxed before?
I've done minimal amounts before. I mean, I've trained. I would love to get back into it when I get a bit more time. Yeah, definitely.
No, 100%. I'll tell you what. I think everyone should. I think everyone, like, not at certain levels, but everyone should at least one point in their life stick the gloves on. Not necessarily just for, trying to think that they're hard or slowing a punch or whatever like that, but especially mentally, 100%. Like, the amount of people that I speak with and chat to that are just miserable with their life, completely and utterly miserable. And it's okay to be in a crap job that you don't like, and it's okay to be in all these positions, right? But at the same time, as long as you're striving towards something you do want to do, and that's the way I see boxing. Like, like my job's my job. I sell cars, so if you want a car, I can hook you up, 100%. I sell cars, but you learn a lot from that job. I'm learning a lot. Like boxing, I learn a lot. I'm happy. You just got to be happy, and I think that's where boxing is also awesome, because even if you're not doing it for to go down the path of becoming pro or fighting in the future, like, you just do it for your own sanity. Because sometimes I think even the quietest people want to hit something, right? I don't know about you and your friends, however, a lot of my friends have had broken knuckles. They've had temper tantrums over their girlfriend seeing someone else or something like that, and it's just trying to get them down. If you want to hit something, let's go and hit something. Let's go scrap, and it's without rambling too much, there's a lot of alpha dog going around everywhere, isn't there? I suppose you go into any gym and it's all the same, and I don't know. That's the best thing about BMAC as well. BMAC in Banbury, I'll give them a shout out, because it's a wicked gym run by an awesome team. And yeah, no egos, literally no egos.
Definitely. No, I really appreciate you speaking about that. And would you say that your mental health can be especially more important than your physical health at times?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think that you can look at, like I was saying to you earlier, you can look after your body like fairly easily. Whether or not I'm going to sound like a knob saying that, but like you can look after. It's easy to look after your body. As Piers Morgan says, if you want to lose weight, eat less and exercise. And you can say it all you like, but it's the truth. However, mental wise, you can be the fittest person on earth with the best body, the best physique, like everything like that. But if your brain and your head's not right, it can change the outcome dramatically. The amount, like, talking from personal experience as well, the amount of times I've gone into a fight in MMA and physically I'm there, like, I've got the gas tank, I've got the skill, I've got the technique, but mentally I've gone into it just not right. And that, like you were saying earlier, it just can be the biggest fault. 100%, 100%. And that's another thing that's good about fighting. It does teach you, like I said earlier, adversity. Adversity, it's a good word, because everyone goes through it, you know, everyone goes through their own shit. And I think that finding a way to deal with it, I suppose, but I think I just found out that punching people and getting punched is a good way to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yes, and so just kind of one question, just for myself, kind of off boxing. You've seemingly changed your hairstyle since the Instagram posts.
No.
And why have you done that? The mullet, man, it looks so good.
So when I first started growing the mullet, right, I was speaking to my barber, Newton's barbers, the guy called Ben Newton, and I was sort of like going through, you know, I was a bit bored of my hair. And he said, "Oh, let's," you know, it was his idea really. He was like, "Why don't we go for a mullet?" And at the time, it was, you know, apart from people in Australia, really, in the UK, they weren't really. I seldom, very rarely saw a mullet. So I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it." So I started growing it, and then I don't know, I just started seeing more pop up on Instagram, whether or not the system was listening to me or not. You know, the phones can hear you and stuff like that. Whether or not I was seeing that, but I just started seeing a load more. And then around Banbury and around the area, I'm not saying I started it, but of course I didn't, because trends sort of happen anyway. It just sort of got to the stage where I just thought, oh, everyone's got one. And then, everyone's got one. And I kept getting people pulling it at the back of the hair. And it just got to the stage where I was like, you know what, I'm going to shave it off. So I shaved it. I've still got like a little bit of a V. Like I'm going for like a mohawk type style now. But yeah. Plus the maintenance, holy shit! I feel sorry for women. Jesus, like I mean, I'm talking about like shoulder length hair that I had, right? However, I don't know how most girls deal with their hair first thing in the morning, because sleeping on that was a bugger, an absolute bugger. So yeah, I guess that's why I changed it. But you know, I got mixed reviews on that.
No, I mean, I used to have one as well. Mine come last year. I probably got it early last year, and I had it until probably like December time, and so mine wasn't quite as long as yours. It was mainly like maybe down to like here kind of level, but
yeah, I know.
But yeah, yours looked really good, man. I just wanted to appreciate it as well.
I appreciate it. How come you got rid of yours?
Yeah, similar kind of reasons. I mean, obviously it wasn't as long as yours, but kind of effort as well to maintain a little bit, and you know, yeah, just kind of got bored of it. But I think maybe when the summer's over, the winter back, I probably will get it back again.
Yeah, get that neck warmer going. Get that neck warmer, 100%. No, I appreciate it, man.
Okay, nice one. Okay, well, I'll leave with this final question, which I always like to ask. You've got a little bit of a platform here. Would you like to shout anything out?
Yeah, certainly. So I want to shout out my gym, so Banbury Martial Arts Centre. Stuart Davies, head coach down there in owner. Awesome dude. I'd also obviously shout out Joe Jackson Brown, my boxing coach, and then Cyprian as well. Again, good mate of mine, and a really good boxer. And then what else would I like to shout out? I don't know. If I haven't got anything else to shout out, I don't think. If I've missed anyone, though, I do apologise. However, what I do want to do is I do want to ask you a question, if that's all right.
Okay, yeah, sure.
What is your favourite animal?
Oh, okay. Probably a dog. I've always had dogs. Love dogs. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of dog have you got?
I've got like a little kind of poodle dog at the moment, but I want a big dog when I get older. I want like a big kind of husky dog, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, huskies are sick. I'd love a husky or a Belgian Malinois as well. They're pretty sick. But no. Sorry, it's a question I ask everyone. Right. Just sort of give you an ask. But I appreciate you having me on, man. Been good.
No, it's been great, mate. Appreciate this very much. Thank you very much. Maybe a little bit further along down the line we can come and have you on again.
No, 100%. I'll be pro by then. You actually be chilling people.
Yes, indeed, mate. Okay, and so if you are new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like video, and thanks for watching.